Welcome to this after dinner chat. So, as always, I've invited somebody along today who is well known within his environment and somebody who's been invited along to one of the dinners. Mo and I caught up over dinner a while ago, and he was just bringing his business into this market. It's a verification business. He's all about countering ad fraud. He's all about bringing to life the way of measuring what works and what doesn't work within the out-of-home environment. Mo, lovely to catch up with you. How you been?
Good, James. Good to see you again.
So let's get straight in. What's been in the news this week that's caught your eye?
Something that really jumped out to me this week was that Puma turned London Bridge into a football goal to mark the start of the Premier League season. It's pretty amazing what they did. They created the world's largest football, they put it on a barge, and they drove it through the arches of the bridge. And I think, in a world where AI and deepfakes are a common occurrence, for Puma to really lean into authenticity, and we're seeing brands lean into authenticity, that's how you win, your customers' hearts and minds. I think we saw a whole bunch of stuff online with even CGI out of home. That's sort of disappeared now. There's a huge return to in real life activations. I like using the term in real life for out of home. Not only did they do that, they enlisted English midfielder Morgan Rogers to help pull this off, right? So it's a number of different touch points. A famous footballer, in real life activation, and then they blasted this across social media. And one of the reasons why I really love this is because brands are finally understanding that out of home amplifies any online activity. And it's great to see Puma pull this off and not just CGI it up on a screen.
It is nice to see in real life, as you put it. I've seen the Houses of Parliament and Big Ben turned into various things for various brands, especially during COVID when nobody could go out and see if they did it for real. I also saw the big football coming down on the barge coming down the Thames, and somebody else commented on that to say, yet another bloody PR stunt where they pulled something down the Thames. And I thought this time it has a sense of purpose because of the goal. It also had lots of touch points, and it wasn't just a gimmick for gimmick's sake, in the way that there was a chewing gum that was being talked about when I was living in Dubai, and the activation agency were trying to get the well-known chewing gum company to bring a part of an iceberg from where icebergs are, as you can imagine, at the pole, and bring that down and put that through Dubai Creek before it melted as an activation to say that I was just like, on what planet is that acceptable? It was wrong every single way. So it was inauthentic. It was bad for the whole world, and luckily that didn't get sold in. Big audacious goals, are great, but actually having something that that works resonates. And I can see why you might like the out of home piece and why that might be the one that you latched onto, Mo, which leads nicely to the next question. So what do you do that helps people get ripped off less in your world?
First of all, my name's Mo. I'm the co-founder of Veridoo. We started Veridoo a number of years ago. And if we step back and look at our mission, our goal is to help grow the out-of-home industry by making it more automated and more trusted and more effective. So your question is touching on trust. And it's interesting because when we think about out-of-home verification, we think about it in terms of confidence. If we can give brands confidence that what they bought has been delivered, then I think not only do I think, I've seen that we can see more investment into the out-of-home industry. But on the flip side, we know that in any medium, there is at least some sort of media wastage. And we see in the online world, numbers of up to 35, 40%, is it James, on ad fraud. And then to think that, there isn't any of that in out-of-home would be a little bit ignorant. Out of home has a lot of strengths, and I focus a lot of the times on the strengths of it. But the reality is, out of home exists in a real world environment. And in these environments, there are sometimes unpredictable things that can happen. We've all walked past a panel and seen it down, or seen the wrong creative, or seen something missing. And we can sit here and avoid to have that conversation, or
So what's the scariest thing for a brand that you've brought to life, much to the abject horror of the media owner that was trying to hide it? Or is it not like that?
look, I think if you ask the media owner, they wouldn't hide from the fact that sometimes there are under deliveries. I think if we hide from it, then we're going to lose trust from the brands. We'd rather call it out. I think secondly, with the technology that we have today, if we call it out and we're able to identify it in real time and then rectify it to ensure that the brand's media spend is protected and the overall campaign is effective, I think that is a much more mature conversation to have with brands than to ignore that it ever happened, right? Because if you ask any brand today, they'll tell you they've walked down the street and seen something wrong with their creative on a panel.
So how do you do it? How do you physically do it in so many markets, in so many different ways, in so many different places? Get people out and about to verify, or is it all done digitally and you put the code in to make sure that it's doing what it's supposed to do?
Exactly. We built a patented smart creative technology, which is added to the creative, like a tag or a pixel. You might know that sort of terminology. And then when the media owner plays that on their screen, we get to track exactly what's happening and where it's being played and what creative is being played. And you know, the kind of results that we see is that brands who are verifying their out-of-home campaigns increase their campaigns effectiveness by about 20% alone.
So do you work hand in hand with the likes of the other verification tools for other digital channels, or do you sit alongside them?
Yeah, we sit alongside them. I think there might be a future where we work hand in hand, but right now we sit alongside them.
Oh, big scoop. You heard it here first. Mo's going to be buying the likes of IAS or Double Verify. I'm delighted to hear that you've got them in your sights. And I'll stop there. Which markets are you in right now?
Currently, we're live in Australia. That's our home market. We launched there. We're live in the UK, Netherlands, and the USA.
And what's happening next in the world of out of home? Because we're going to see the end of non-digital pasted billboards. Is everything going to be digital in tomorrow's world, or do we still have pasted billboards going up unverified in various places?
There will always be static billboards, I believe. Will that happen? You know, is everything getting digitized? We see a lot of panels being digitized. If I look at Australia right now, 20% of the panels are digitized, and they're generating 70% of the total market. We see similar, maybe not exactly those numbers in UK. We see less digitization in the USA at the moment. However, I think that's a huge opportunity for the USA, right? It's such a huge market, but there's so little of inventory digitized. Will everything become digital? Maybe, but I still think there's a place for static to play.
Fair cup. I've got the high five round now I want to drag you into. I'd love to hear, if I may, Mo, who is your hero in context of ripped off less?
Look, it's interesting. A lot of the times when I talk about independent verification, I refer back to this speech Mark Pritchard did on stage around verification for the online world. And, you know, that gives us a bit of a guiding star for us at Veridoo about what we're trying to build. And the exact quote was around not tolerating self-reporting and not accepting excuses like walled gardens and excuses like our technology won't allow it. And he really makes it clear that there is no sustainable advantage for any medium that is complicated, non-transparent, and has fraud in its supply chain. And I think, you know, for someone to really stand up like that and stand up on stage and talk about it is a hero in that context.
So Mark Pritchard is no longer the big cheese at P&G. Do you think that there are other champions like him with such a high profile in the marketplace? Or is it something that everybody is championing now, and it's no longer a one man needs to champion this? Is just everybody, every CMO, male, female, is championing the same need for verification?
Look, I think if you speak to a brand today and you talk to them about protecting their investment, it's a no-brainer. We rarely have conversations with brands where they say, okay, this is not a great idea. Are there champions? I think you'll find champions where it's important to them, and champions who believe in trust and transparency across brands. We speak to a lot of them today, and they are really the ones that support us into new markets and really help us communicate the demand to media owners around independent verification.
Fair cop. The next on the high five. What's your best decision to date?
Best decision to date was investing in the culture at Veridoo. At one point in time, you're at a particular size and stage of your business where you think culture just becomes naturally. And it wasn't until where we sat back and made it clear to the team that culture did not come from the top, but it was built by every single person within the business. Did we really start to think about culture? And now I would say culture is a superpower of ours at Veridoo, and we're an amazing place to be working at.
What does that even mean? How do you invest in culture? I mean, does that mean taking everybody out for a game of footy at lunchtime?
It actually, you really have to go back to first principles, and you have to think about what people want when they're working for a company. A lot of people think people want perks like table tennis and lunch and so forth. High performers don't really care about perks. It's a nice to have. You have to think about what they want. They want purpose. Do they have a clear vision about where they're heading? Do they know how they need to turn up to work every day? So what we did was we were very clear about our vision. We made super clear our principles, our values that we turn up to work with every day. We incentivize people living by those principles at work. We also allow people to use our principles as a decision matrix for when they're making decisions. They can turn to our principles. After you've done your principles, you need to say, okay, cool, we know our total vision. We know how we need to behave. What are the sub goals that we need to get there? And if you can we built out OKRs, and we built out very clear OKRs. And there was 3 objectives for this year, and everyone knows exactly how they're going there. We told everyone that we want people to be high performers, and we defined what a high performer was. And we asked people to really dig deep and ask themselves, do they want to be on this team, and do they want to live with these principles? And if they do, then this is the right place for them. And if it's not, then we'll help them sort of go and find somewhere else that's better for them. And, we do these surveys every quarter. And one of my favorite questions on the survey is, how much do you believe people around you at work are committed to doing a great job? And consistently, we get above 9 out of 10 for that across the company. And so I would say culture is around having the right people who believe in the same vision and principles, who are high performers, and they believe they are surrounded by other people who want to do great work.
This answer. Your worst decision to date?
We hired someone based on their years of experience in this industry and based on their resume, rather than their ability to learn, their openness to feedback, and their willingness to take on challenges. And that caused a whole bunch of issues within our business. Actually, that's what came before our investing in the culture. This really bad hire decision and
really interesting.
And some toxicity and our worst decision actually forced us to start looking at our culture.
Well, let's move on to the next 2 in the last minute that we've got. What's your funniest moment?
Back when we first started, we took an office in a building on Pitt Street in Sydney. I'm not sure if you know it, but the funniest moment was walking in on the first day and realizing that it was situated above a gentleman's club. Safe to say, we never invited anyone to that office, and the moment that lease was done, we were out of there.
That's in stark contrast to your talk about great culture and your first environment for your office. One more person. I'm going to ask you, who would you think would be great for this podcast? And of course, to be on this podcast, one has to have been to one of the dinners. Who do you think would be a great invite at dinner?
Someone I deeply admire and respect is Nick Parker. He's our global president, but he's also used to be the global COO of Kinetic. I think he'd be great to have at your dinner just because he's experienced so much in the out-of-home industry. He's seen it transform numerous times, and he's a wealth of knowledge and experience that I think the out-of-home industry needs to cherish.
Is he a storyteller like you too?
He's a very good storyteller.
Awesome. Mo, great to have you on. Thanks so much.
Thank you, James.
This episode is brought to you by jobsandadtech.com, the only jobs board dedicated to digital media and the ad tech industry. If you're hiring now, use promo code JWPOD, JWPOD, for a 10% discount on any package. Jobsandadtech.com, it's where ad techers go to find their next role.